Hi kindergartners, it's Miss Swan here to do a read aloud with you today. We are going to read this book, Amazing Grace, but before we start we're always going to do 3 good reader things. The first is we're going to ask a good reader question. Our question today is, who is someone who encourages you? That means someone who tells you to keep going and gives you kind words that help you feel like you can persevere. Who encourages you? If you can, pause the video and tell someone close to you about somebody who encourages you. Great, thank you for doing that. Somebody who encourages me is Mr. O'Connor and Miss Dunn. Mr. O'Connor and Miss Dunn always tell me that I can keep going even if it feels hard for me, and that helps me to persevere. They also give me kind words when I am persevering, and that makes me want to persevere too. We also have a word in here that will help us understand the book. Our word today is audition. Let's clap that. Audition. Let's pump it up. Audition. Let's chop it down. Audition. Let's always count. Audition. There are 3 syllables in that word, audition. An audition is when somebody shows a skill they have so that they will be chosen to do a job or to get a certain part, like in a play. So we are going to see Grace do an audition. The last thing we're going to do is do some noticings and wonderings before we read the book. Take a second and look at the cover of this book. You can notice and wonder, and if you're able, pause the video and tell someone close to you what you notice or wonder. Great, thanks. I noticed that there is a person on this book. I noticed they're wearing a pink and purple shirt and a white shirt. I noticed they have bows in their hair. I noticed that they're missing some teeth, and that reminds me of some of you because you've lost teeth this year. I know a couple things about this character's identity. This character is Grace, and Grace identifies as a girl. Grace also identifies as a kid. Grace identifies as Black, and Grace's family identity is that she has a mom and a grandma, and they're both main characters in this book as well. While we read today, we're going to focus on a specific skill, and that skill on your map to first grade is fiction number 5. Fiction number 5 is about comparing 2 different texts. And this week we're going to do that by making text-to-text connections. That means where we think about how this book is the same as another book. So while we read, you might be thinking of other books, other texts that are the same as this book. And at the end we'll talk more about that. All right, let's get started. Amazing Grace. Grace was a girl who loved stories. She didn't mind if they were read to her, or told to her, or made up in her own head. She didn't care if they were in books, or movies, or out of Nana's long memory. Grace just loved stories. After she had heard them, and sometimes while they were still going on, Grace would act them out. And she always gave herself the most exciting part. Grace went into battle as Joan of Arc and wove a wicked web as Anansi the spider. She hid inside the wooden horse at the gates of Troy. She went exploring for lost kingdoms. She sailed the 7 seas with a peg leg and a parrot. Sometimes she could get Ma and Nana to join in when they weren't too busy. Then she was Dr. Grace, and their lives were in her hands, which means that she was taking care of them. One day, Grace's teacher said they would do the play Peter Pan. Grace knew who she wanted to be. When she raised her hand, Raj said, "You can't be Peter, that's a boy's name." But Grace kept her hand up. "You can't be Peter," whispered Natalie. "He isn't black." But Grace kept her hand up. "All right," said the teacher, "lots of you want to be Peter Pan, so we'll have auditions next week to choose parts." She gave them words to learn. I heard a couple things happen on this page. I heard this kid, Raj, tell Grace that she couldn't be Peter Pan because of her gender identity. I also heard this character, Natalie, tell Grace that she couldn't be Peter Pan because of her race. I also heard the teacher say that there will be auditions. That means they will all practice being Peter Pan, and they will show how they've practiced being Peter Pan to see who will be the best Peter Pan. When Grace got home, she seemed sad. "What's the matter?" asked Ma. "Raj said I can't be Peter Pan because I'm a girl." "That just shows what Raj knows," said Ma. "A girl can be Peter Pan if she wants to." I'm hearing the opposite story from Ma. I hear Ma is saying that no matter what her gender identity is, she can do what she wants. Grace cheered up. Then later, she remembered something else. "Natalie says I can't be Peter Pan because I'm black," she said. Ma looked angry, but before she could speak, Nana said, "It seems that Natalie is another one who doesn't know nothing. You can be anything you want, Grace, if you put your mind to it." I hear Nana encouraging Grace. I hear her using kind words and telling her to keep going even though it feels difficult. On Saturday, Nana told Grace they were going out. In the afternoon, they caught a bus and train into town. Nana took Grace to a grand theater. The sign outside read "Rosalie Wilkins in Romeo and Juliet" in sparkling lights. "Are we going to the ballet, Nana?" asked Grace. "We are, honey, but first I want you to look at this picture." Grace looked up and saw a beautiful young ballerina in a tutu. Above the dancer it said, "Stunning new Juliet." "That one is little Rosalie from back home in Trinidad," said Nana. "Her granny and me, we grew up together on the island. She's always asking me, do I want tickets to see her Rosalie dance? So this time, I said yes. Now I know that Grandma knows this person who is going to be Juliet in this play. It's one of her friend's granddaughters." After the ballet, Grace played the part of Juliet, dancing around her room in her imaginary tutu. "I can be anything I want," she thought. Oh, it sounds like seeing Rosalie on stage really inspired Grace to keep doing what she wants to do. On Monday, the class met for auditions to choose who was best for each part. When it was Grace's turn to be Peter, she knew exactly what to do and all the words to say. She had been Peter Pan all weekend. She took a deep breath and imagined herself flying. When it was time to vote, the class chose Raj to be Captain Hook and Natalie to be Wendy. There was no doubt who would be Peter Pan. Everyone voted for Grace. "You are fantastic," whispered Natalie. The play was a big success, and Grace was an amazing Peter Pan. After it was all over, she said, "I feel as if I could fly all the way home." "You probably could," said Ma. "Yes," said Nana, "if Grace puts her mind to it, she can do anything she wants." And our good reader question today is, how did Nana encourage Grace to keep trying? What did Nana do in this book to encourage Grace to keep trying? If you can, pause the video and tell someone close to you. Great, thank you for doing that. My answer is that one thing that Nana did was to give her kind words. And I know that because on this page, Nana says, "You can be anything you want, Grace, if you put your mind to it." So I know that one thing Nana does is she uses a lot of kind words and tells Grace to keep persevering. All this week, we're going to practice a specific skill called text-to-text connections. That's where we think about ways that two books are the same. So I'm trying to think of today a book that is the same as Amazing Grace. It has something that is the same. Maybe the characters are the same. Maybe the setting is the same. Maybe the problem in this book is the same as the problem in another book. Maybe the solution is the same as the solution in another book. There are lots of things that could be the same. Today, I'll give you an example of a text-to-text connection. One of the books that this makes me think of is the book Emmanuel's Dream that we read last week. The reason that that book feels the same as this book to me is because the character Emmanuel has people who are telling him that he can't do something. He can't ride his bike, or he can't have a job, or he can't do the things that other people can do. And that reminds me of how in this book, people were telling Grace that she couldn't be Peter Pan because of her gender and because of her race. In both books, Emmanuel and Grace persevere and still believe that they can do the thing that they want to do. I have shown my text-to-text connection in a picture today. I drew a text-to-text connection to remind us. And then I drew a picture of Grace from this book and Emmanuel from his book. And that's to show that Grace and Emmanuel are the same because they both persevered even though people told them that they couldn't do something because of their body or because of their gender or their race. So it is your turn. Today you're going to think about another book that feels the same as this book for some reason. Maybe there's a character in another book that feels the same to you. Maybe the setting is the same. Maybe the problem is the same. Maybe the solution is the same. There's so many things that could be the same. But today, you're going to make a text-to-text connection and send it to your teacher. You could draw a picture. You could draw a picture and write a sentence. You could just write a sentence. Or you could verbally tell someone about a text-to-text connection that you have between this book and another book. We are so excited to see what you do and the text-to-text connections that you're going to make this week. Thank you for reading with me today.